All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cointelegraph Live AMA. I am Celine, and I'm super excited to be hosting today. So, before we start, I have a quick question for all of you. Do you know which African country was the first to officially license crypto exchanges? Few seconds. Well, bingo to those who guessed it, it's South Africa. And here's a crazy stat. Over half the population either owns crypto, has traded it before, or has a crypto wallet right now. And on top of that, South Africans have some of the highest levels of crypto literacy in the world. And that sounds pretty cool, right? And now when we talk about crypto adoption, exchanges play a huge role. You know that, I know that, we all know that. And if you're into crypto in South Africa, I'm sure you have definitely heard of today's guest. They're not just any exchange, they're the biggest in the country by trading volume and a major player in the African market. I am talking about VALR. They've been around since 2018, offering a large range of crypto products and services. So today, we're diving into what makes VALR stand out, their lending products, and some exciting trading contests they have going on. And to break it all down, we've got two awesome guests with us today. Gianluca Sacco, COO at VALR, and Ben Caselin, CMO at VALR. Hello, guys, and welcome to Cointelegraph Live AMA. How are you doing?
Good. Great to be here. Thanks, Celine.
Thank you. Very nice to be here.
Great. I'm really excited to kick off this live session today. And just to remind everyone, if you're enjoying the conversation so far, don't forget to like the stream and share it with your friends. Anyone you think will find this interesting. If you got any question about the topic we're covering today, drop them in the comments below and we'll try our best to answer them later on. Now, before we dive into our first question, we've got a short video that will give you a quick overview of the VALR project. And let's take a look now. That was a nice video. Thank you to our editor team. Now let's jump in, guys. We've had you on our previous show, and I'm really excited to hear all the latest from VALR. But before we jump into those updates, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. You guys are running the largest exchange in South Africa, and from what we've seen at Cointelegraph, Africa is really emerging as both an exciting and challenging market for crypto. So, in your opinion, what's the number one reason people in Africa are turning to crypto? And what role do traditional financial barriers like limited banking access or volatility of local currencies play in that?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Celine. So firstly, I think, look, the problems that Africa face are pretty simple, at least the problems that crypto can help solve. Firstly, it's really difficult to make payments, especially cross-border. And secondly, it's actually quite hard to invest externally to some of the countries on the African continent, right? So you could imagine that dollar stablecoins are a really interesting and attractive asset for the people of Africa to either hold or transact with. And non-sovereign money like Bitcoin is like one of probably the most interesting investments that are more available to the people of Africa, especially in the markets that we operate in. Right, and you can see that on VALR specifically, a lot of our highest traded assets on our exchange are either dollar stablecoins against local currency or Bitcoin. So it's absolutely true that in Africa, crypto actually plays a really important real use case. Right, it helps people transact more freely and more easily and more cheaply, and it gives people an opportunity to invest outside of their government's control, let's say.
That's great to see how it's evolving. Yeah, Ben, do you want to add something?
And maybe not so specifically about South Africa in and of itself, but rather it's the idea that Bitcoin might have emerged in the developed world, wherever it may have come from, but really traction is first and foremost in the emerging markets. And that has to do with, of course, the quality of the financial system, but also vested interest. So across the emerging markets, the opportunity to rise, whether it's El Salvador or Bhutan or South Africa, is much more pronounced than in a developed market like the US, which is only now coming around the corner, or Europe, which is kind of struggling to come around the corner. So really in South Africa especially, we're in a very good place. I would say that it has one of the most advanced licensing regimes globally. And so, I think that also plays into it. It's not just the problems in let's say in Africa, but rather the opportunity.
Great. We'll dive into that a little bit more later on talking about other markets, especially emerging markets. Now for our audience who might not be familiar with VALR, let's take a moment to dive into your journey. VALR has been at the forefront of the crypto space for 7 years, which is quite impressive, especially with the ever-changing market dynamics and regulatory challenges. So what would you say is the secret behind VALR's success? And were there any pivotal moments that helped shape the platform growth?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been around for a long time, actually. I think 7 years in crypto feels like forever. We actually started operating during a time when the markets that we call home, like South Africa, were actually really exciting, right? At that time, and even today, it's not unusual to see that prices of crypto assets are actually quite different than the prices on international exchanges. And so there's a lot of arbitrage opportunity on an exchange like VALR, even today. That's been one of the most interesting things that we tackled early on as we were building our product and thinking about even starting our exchange. We noticed that, look, the market of South Africa was underserved. We wanted to build a product that we would love to use, that we believed that the South African market would enjoy, and we could see the demand. Right, we knew that there was significant demand in South Africa for crypto because it traded at such a massive premium to other parts of the world. So catering to that and building out an exchange that actually fully allowed people to take advantage of opportunities like arbitrage and just access to crypto, I think was a really important first step for VALR. We, I think, understood quite deeply how users on our exchange would want to take advantage of price dislocation in our market and built for that, right? We've got the best banking integration, I think, on the African continent of any crypto exchange, which allows users to move funds really easily and quickly onto and off of our platform. We've got a wide selection of assets that people can trade. We have features like spot margin, futures trading on VALR. It's a fully fledged exchange, right? We offer lending, we offer staking, a broad set of services to our users today. And understanding what would best fit our customers and serving them really well, I think was what we hopefully did quite well early on and gave us the opportunity to become the largest exchange in Africa. That job is never over or finished, I think, but it's something that we place a lot of emphasis on, right? We care a lot about product and building out a product that we think our users will really enjoy. So I'd say that was kind of what set us apart in this market. We've since put in a lot of work to build out an international offering to our users. Our customer base is not just based in South Africa today. We actually serve nearly all markets around the world and have dollar on and off ramping for users, have a large selection of blockchains that we've integrated with that users can on and off ramp through, right? Depositing and withdrawing their crypto. And more we're seeing international customers come and participate on VALR, which is really exciting. So I think, we're really excited about what the future holds, more so than anything, with our exchange. But I've had a lot of fun along the way in a market that's been really interesting and somewhat challenging, right? Starting from an African country and trying to build a world-class product has been really exciting and interesting for us. Presented unique problems that we've had to solve, but helped us, I think, build some resilience in building out a product that we think is world-class. And happy to chat a little bit more about the details of what products are most interesting to users globally, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll definitely dive into that a bit later on about your product and services. Those are absolutely great values, and I think Ben and G, you both tackle something that I want to dive into a little bit. We'd love to hear about the countries you currently have licenses in, and whether you're looking to expand into any new markets.
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly, I'll mention we are fully licensed as a crypto asset service provider in South Africa. We also have a number of other licenses in this market that help us offer derivatives and lending products. We are licensed in the EU through Poland. We're pursuing a license with VARA in Dubai, where we have initial approval, and are licensing in the Cayman Islands as well for our international customers, and interested in pursuing a license in Hong Kong. So a number of licenses already that we have, and a few more that we're actually pursuing.
Great, a lot of great thing going on. Jay, you kind of tackle and mention like that values and purposes are really important at VALR. Funny enough, I was watching yesterday a speech that Ben you did at the Bangkok Summit, and I found your insights like on reconnecting crypto with purpose really powerful. And it got me thinking, what do you see as the greater purpose of VALR in the long run? Beyond just being a trading platform, how does VALR contribute to a bigger mission in the crypto space? Can you share that with our audience?
Yeah, maybe. Well, thank you, first of all, for watching that speech. It was very short, but an important message. You know, where G goes kind of back to the beginning, the first days of Valor, while I myself have only joined about 1.5 years ago. And so my experience has actually been with some of the larger exchanges in Asia and also in Dubai. And that journey has brought me to Valor. And for me, it was really finding a gem, because I think it's crucial if you work for an exchange, especially if you're a public figure for an exchange, it's very important that your own values are, in accordance or aligned with the values of the exchange you work for. And so what I've noticed in the first few years of my employment in this industry is that, a lot of it is driven by hype. A lot of it is driven by a kind of corporate greed, unfortunately, and plenty of unsavory practices. And we're now coming into really a new phase of the evolution of exchange, which is licenses, regulation, governments coming into the space, institutions coming into the space, and there's no room to play around anymore. And so for me personally, Valor has been a really wonderful finding, because it is values driven first, and that might sometimes be at the expense of profits or of revenue at least. And values first, really, what are those values? The values can be about what type of financial system do we actually want to build, and not necessarily the question of how much money do we want to make as an exchange. And that really keeps us, or has kept Valor safe throughout these 7 years. Plenty of exchanges have come and gone, plenty of projects have come and gone, plenty of coins have gone to zero. And so if these kind of business failures have been due to the absence of value, then I believe that Valor's success lies in the presence and centrality of values. So that'll be my short answer. Maybe G has more to offer there.
Yeah. I think for us, one of the reasons that we've had staying power and been around for as long as we have is that we're fairly conservative in how we're actually thinking about building out a crypto exchange. We want it to last for the long term, right? We intend to be here in 10, 15 years' time. We have conviction in the crypto space and believe it's here to stay, whatever the price action does. So I think, for us, having a guiding light and North Star that's basically we're here to serve people, and to build out a product that we believe that they can find value from, has been a really great just North Star, right? Something for us to anchor on, to decide what we're building and why. We'll speak a little bit about why we've gone and built out leverage trading products. I think that almost sounds like it's counter to what I'm saying, I imagine, right? That like, hey, you guys say that you have values, and here you are building leverage for people to go and degen on. But like when I think of a crypto exchange, I think of like a bank account that's just much more functional for people who live in the 21st century, right? Like it's a place where a lot of people store a lot of money. Some people get paid into their crypto accounts, right? And I can do a lot more on Valor than I can do with my bank, right? I can actually save and earn a healthy interest rate through my crypto account. I can trade into different assets that I want to hold. I can pay people. I can do so pretty much for free. And I can transact almost immediately with others, right? And like it's just, I get so excited about the space even today, and even with all of the nonsense that we've seen this year with meme coins and mania about price action, right? Because I think underneath a lot of the speculation, there's real value for people in the space, and especially like with the customer base that we interact with today, right? Like we've helped a lot of people protect their wealth from inflation in markets where currency has devalued significantly against the dollar, and given access to crypto that also has appreciated significantly for those that have had conviction to hold, right? Never mind the fact that you can take your Bitcoin or US dollar stable coins and lend it and earn more than 10% a year, which is just, I think, probably one of the best investments that someone in Africa can make today. We've built this stuff because we think it's valuable to people and it helps people. So I think that's why we've had staying power and the values that we lead with.
I love your vision. I love the mindset that you have, and I think those values will hopefully push you like to as far as possible. Thank you for the great overview on about our journey. It is clear that the company has gone through a lot of exciting developments over the years. Now let's switch gears a bit. What major updates or new features from Valr are you most excited about? Anything our audience should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a little bit more context I'd like to give about the product that I'm going to talk about, which is lending and margin trading. Which is, I alluded to the fact that in our markets, and especially South Africa, crypto trades at a different price to the rest of the world, right? It trades at a bit of a premium. And this you typically see in markets where there are some capital controls, some inability for people to move money easily. That means that crypto is in short supply in a place like South Africa compared to other places, and it pushes the price up. The simple supply and demand dynamics, right? There's not enough supply for the amount of demand there is, and the, I guess, concern for some people that they might not be able to move money out of the country easily. With that being said, right, there has for a very long time been an opportunity for people to take advantage of elevated prices by just supplying crypto into markets like South Africa and the rest of Africa. And that's tricky for a lot of people to get right? You've got to navigate the local regulations and local fiat currencies, and that's a bit scary for most people. What's probably not so scary is one of the implications of this, which is with high demand to buy crypto in markets like the ones we operate in, there's a lot of leverage. Well, if it's available, and on Valor you can trade spot pairs with leverage, nearly 50 pairs. There's a lot of demand to borrow dollar stable coins and other crypto, right, in order to sell into this demand that exists. That supply of crypto on leverage comes from lending, right? And we've opened up our lending book on Valor to all customers to be able to offer their crypto for a healthy interest rate, right? It's something on Valor that we're really excited about because you can lock up dollar stable coins. And just in the last couple of months, the average annualized interest rates that you can earn are north of 15% per year, which I think is really attractive. And it spikes much higher than that at times. And we've built this product such that you can offer to lend, earn interest every hour. It's paid every hour into your wallet directly, which you can then trade with, withdraw, do whatever you wish, right? And you can unlock your funds within an hour as well. So it's really liquid and easy to access and use on Valor. And there's this captive market that we operate in in the countries of Africa, where there's a lot of demand. You can lend at rates that are not the same as other places in either centralized exchanges or DeFi protocols because of this dynamic, because of the structural difference on the African continent, right? So a little bit of a complicated and long-winded answer to say, come to Valor and lend because you can earn really good rates.
Okay, great. You're kind of anticipating my next question, but it's really interesting to have more background and insight about why you are offering lending products. So I want to dive more into that part. I do understand that lending services play a big role in funding emerging trading on your platform, which account for about 20% of your total spot trading volume. You talk about interest, but why would you say makes your lending model stand out compared to others in the markets?
Yeah, sorry, I've jumped ahead and covered a little bit already, but I think firstly and most importantly, the fact that we've got this captive audience on the African continent that is very happy to borrow at much higher rates than you'll find in other places, makes the rates quite attractive for users to come and lend. The second thing is that as like a fully licensed crypto asset service provider and one that's been around for 7 years, I think we've proven that we're here to stay. And so it's not like a fly-by-night exchange that you would worry about losing your money on. Valor does north of $30 to $40 million a day in trading volume in aggregate, and has done so for years now. And then I think finally, what I mentioned about the fact that it's quite liquid on Valor to come and lend, I think is interesting, right? So you can offer your funds as much as you want on our platform, lend it out, do so like for as long as you wish, right? Like if you're not locking yourself up for days or weeks, you're locking yourself up for as long as you choose and earning interest hourly on Valor. So it's paid out with high frequency. You're earning an effective interest pretty quickly in your account. And should your view change, should you wish to, stop lending and use other products, you can trade with 5x leverage on spot on Valor. You can trade perpetual futures. We are about to increase the amount of leverage that we offer on perps up to 20x. And all of this is available from a single unified trading account. Right, you can set up as many sub-accounts on Valor as you wish to isolate funds for your trading. That isolates margin and leverage as well into specific sub-accounts. And we've got a wide range of assets that you can trade and products that are available. Lending is one that we're really excited about, but it's part of a bigger whole. So I'd say, yeah, lending is really interesting on Valor because of elevated rates and how liquid it is to use.
That's really exciting. You also mentioned that South African rand lending has been seeing rates around 60%, which is pretty high. Can you explain to us why is there so much demand?
Yeah, I think so. South Africa is one of our larger markets by users. And look, interest rates in that country are pretty high as a baseline, right? The kind of normal prime interest rate or lending rates are around 11 to 12% in South Africa. So you're earning even more than that somewhere like Valor. And the demand there is people trading, right? So people are borrowing rands to go and buy crypto assets. And that's leading to elevated rates. Again, it's a question of how much demand there is. There's a lot of demand to access crypto.
And maybe to add to that, it's important to look at Valor not as one of 1,000 exchanges, but rather a very particular liquidity pool in and of its own. So a lot of exchanges globally, they rely on other exchanges, and so really the liquidity is elsewhere. But when it comes to Valor, it's quite local actually, and I don't mean local in terms of South Africa only, but Valor stands in and of itself. We have our own books, our own liquidity, and that comes with kind of particular price action and particular liquidity rhythms. Maybe it's less liquid over the weekend, whatever it is. So I believe for wherever you are and whatever exchange you're trading on, I think Valor is a good exchange to add to your portfolio of exchanges where you might want to kind of engage crypto assets. And then, as G was mentioning, there's also a very localized demand, which is just, if your reality is the South African rand, you may as well convert that to stable coins. It's better to hold stable coins, US dollar stable coins, especially now regulation and kind of the US government is coming behind US dollar stable coins as a way to uphold US dollar dominance. I think that speaks that's very promising for this stablecoin market. And therefore for Valor, which has really kind of started to dominate that market, like we're one of the biggest minters of USDC globally. Very few people know that. We're very rarely we have great US dollar on ramps wherever you're based, whether it's in Hong Kong or the European Union or wherever. I think that's something to take into account, that if US dollar stable coins continue to rise and the demand continues to rise, which it surely will in and across Africa, Valor stands to grow with that demand. And therefore, there are many opportunities for people to take advantage of.
That's certainly very, very exciting. While we're on the topic of lending, Bitcoin lending seems to be gaining momentum again, not just among retail investors, but also institutions that are moving beyond traditional products like ETFs and diving into direct lending. Are you guys seeing like a similar trend at ValR?
I think that depends on where we are in the market cycle, to be honest. So typically we'll see higher demand to borrow Bitcoin when people want to be short Bitcoin. So active traders who take positions will borrow Bitcoin when they're feeling a bit bearish and want to sell ahead of prices going down. So that's the point in time where we would see elevated Bitcoin lending rates. And for those that have high conviction in an asset like Bitcoin, a great opportunity to start earning a yield on the Bitcoin that they hold. For long-term holders, it's really attractive to be earning that interest rate. For short-term traders who may or may not be right in their predictions, they also then have the opportunity to borrow whatever currency they prefer. Internally at Valor, I often joke that on the one side you've got a degen going long or short, on the other you've got someone who's probably a long-term investor just lending out to earn healthy interest rate on their funds. So these two things work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally makes sense. One last question about your lending services. We've seen a massive shift in the lending space towards DeFi, with around 84% of all crypto lending now happening on decentralized platforms rather than centralized ones. As a centralized exchange, how do you view this shift? Do you guys think it's a challenge for platforms like Valor, or do you see it as an opportunity?
Yeah, I don't think one source of yield is the answer for everybody, or the only place to go and lend or earn interest. I think DeFi absolutely has its place, and there's low barriers to entry for people to go and lend in DeFi. It also has its risks, right? Like just today, actually, while we're speaking, I think a couple of hours ago, there was a major liquidation event on Hyperliquid, where someone went super long ETH, and Hyperliquid actually had to take over that position because it was such high leverage that it got liquidated. They offer an effective yield on their vaults, right? Which is one place that you can earn an interest rate. That's drawn down now because of this. I wouldn't call it it's an attack. Just someone got liquidated really aggressively on Hyperliquid. KYC venue and a place where people can act more freely. Let me say there are risks there. Right. Similarly, there are risks on centralized exchanges. You've got to trust the exchange, put your funds on there. Of course, those are a different set of risks that users have to face. I think of it as an opportunity to identify and understand a few different venues that you might want to go and lend on, because they present different risks and different opportunities. Right. On Valor, you'll get a stable, high return on something like dollar stable coins. A different venue may give you something else for different assets. So I think the trend is absolutely that DeFi is accelerating and growing. I think people can't forget about the opportunities that centralized exchanges give them, especially those that have a unique customer base, right? So, like for us, there's very few other players in Africa of our size that allow users to come and offer funds to lend where the user base is quite different to other places.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that on the lending services. And just a quick reminder to our audience, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it. We will try to answer it at the end. So now I kind of want to switch to the next topic. It's really fascinating to see how the lending space is evolving. And I want to talk about something else, the margin trading. I know a lot of our viewers are interested in how it works, especially since it can be a very powerful tool in the markets. So my question is, how margin trading working on your platform? And how do margin interest rates work? Do they change based on the demand?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So on Valor, as I mentioned earlier, we offer spot trading with leverage or spot margin, as we're going to discuss, and then futures trading. All of this can be accessed in a single account, right? So you can deposit some USDT into an account as an example, and that's useful for trading however you like, for lending, and for any of the other products that we offer, where you can spend USDT. So for spot margin trading and the lending that we've been mentioning, those products interact directly, right? So a spot margin trader can access up to 5x leverage on more than 40 pairs on Valor. And it's really simple. You tick allow margin on the exchange on our order form, and you can spend beyond your balance, right? It's really easy to access spot margin trading on our platform. That means that when you do spend beyond your balance, you're borrowing, right? So if you spend more than the USDT that you have in your wallet, you're borrowing a certain amount of USDT, and that comes directly from our loan book, where customers are lending USDT. The rates are determined based on demand. So if demand is moderately low relative to the total amount of USDT that's available to borrow on our loan book, then the rates are pretty reasonable, right? They'll be anywhere between like 5 to 7%. As demand ticks up, and we consistently have quite a lot of demand for some assets like USDT and USDC, the rates go up as well. And so it depends on demand, exactly as you mentioned, what the rates end up being. And it's an indication when using our platform how hot the markets are, right? When rates are really high, people are very happy to pay high interest rate because they're in either very short-term positions that they're trading, or have a very strong view about which way the market's going. And so they'll pay high interest rates to access that. Yeah, the last thing I'll mention on spot margin trade is that it's something you can do in a single account if you so wish. You can also split up your risk, right? So if you only want to put up a certain amount of money in leverage trading, it's trivial. It's really simple to just open a new sub account on Valor. It's one click, basically, right? You open a new sub account, you transfer funds into that sub account, and that is isolated. You can trade as you wish from that particular sub account. And if you end up getting liquidated because you were wrong in your trade, that's isolated to the funds that are in that sub account. It doesn't carry over into any other account that you've got on Valor. It's probably the something that's like not at the top of anybody's mind. People hate the idea of focusing on liquidation, I think. But the last thing I'll mention about spot margin trading on Valor is that we try very hard to be quite gentle in liquidations, if I can put it that way, right? So the way that we've got kind of a few steps in our liquidation process. If someone falls below a certain health in their account, we're actually mostly liquidating on book as a first priority, right? So like orders go onto this an order book to repay debt or close out futures positions. And those happen piecemeal. We don't fully liquidate an account immediately. It happens in kind of 10% tranches typically of debt. And we don't liquidate everything that you have in your account. We stop the liquidation process once your account goes back above a minimum health requirement. So we try to give as much control as we can to our users to trade the way they want to trade, without facing basically huge risk of having their entire account taken away from them if they fall below liquidation level.
Yeah. Funny enough, I was actually watching one of your videos, guys, on YouTube channel about explaining how margin trading is working. And I do highly recommend this to our audience if some beginners are watching this video, because for me, like, it was really clear, like you are actually showing the screen. So you can just, type on YouTube, VALR YouTube channel, and you will find this video. Jumping on the next question, I'm also curious to know who's borrowing the most on the platform. Is it traders, institutions, or perhaps like a different group of users?
It's a mix, really. We have quite a large customer base of more than 1 million accounts on Valor. And within that, there's a large number of traders who are active, taking quick positions here and there. Those are potentially borrowing on our platform. We also have quite a few institutions, and some of the largest banks in Africa are working with us to set up products for their end customers. And there's actually quite a lot of institutional demand that uses leverage and that borrows funds. I'd say that's the larger proportion of support for using leverage.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, maybe this. Sorry, maybe this plays a little bit into your earlier question about DeFi platforms versus centralized exchange platforms like us. This is still, I mean, it's 15 years into the space, but it's still early days. And for sure, the banks, let's say, and the larger institutions in the world, they're not talking to the DeFi platforms, right? They're talking to licensed institutions like Valor. And potentially, once Valor, let's say, becomes a liquidity provider for some of the largest banks in Africa, that means access to many, many millions of customers around Africa. And so, there's still a lot of growth that we can pursue when it comes to our lending product, our margin books, our markets, spot markets, something that's, I would say, out of reach for anything kind of decentralized and without KYC. There's certainly value in these platforms, but it's a different growth trajectory. So for a platform like Valor, we have different aspirations, and certainly not to build up an alternative financial system that just exists in the shadow, but rather something that enhances the existing system and then hopefully supersedes it and gives it new meaning and definition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. We mentioned, when it comes to borrowing, maybe like a question that a user can ask you: can traders use a range of cryptocurrencies as collateral, or is the choice more limited to certain assets?
Yeah, it's quite wide on Valor. So it's more than 15 assets that you can use as collateral. All of the major crypto assets, some fiat currencies, all available as collateral on our platform to trade however you'd like. So there's quite a wide range. We've tried really hard to think of the exchange that we're building as offering a whole bunch of tools to users, right? Like, lots of people have different requirements and different interests and different objectives when they're trading crypto or just investing, actually, right? And so, like, offering tools that customers can mix and match and use as they wish is something we focused on. And one of the tools in the toolbox are how many different assets can you use for your trading or across spot markets and futures markets. So we aggressively have expanded the number of assets that you can use, and we're going to continue to do so. Great.
I'm happy to hear that all of the users out there have multiple choices to trade on your platform. One last question about this topic on margin trading. With the crypto market being as volatile as it is, I'm sure our audience is wondering, what kind of safety measures do you have in place to protect users if we see extreme market fluctuations?
Yeah, that is a good question. So the first thing that I'll mention is that our margin requirements and points at which we liquidate are very carefully set. I mentioned that we've got a multi-stage liquidation process. So the first thing we do is we try to piecemeal reduce the amount of leverage that users have. That helps to protect the platform at large, and specifically any lenders that are offering funds to the loan book, from the risk that a person who's borrowing might go bankrupt in their account. We've never had such a case on Valor. Second to that, if accounts really fall into bad health, like close to bankruptcy, we have an insurance fund and an asset and debt takeover process that transfers the remaining balances of debt and assets into an insurance fund and pays off debt immediately if users get really close to bankruptcy. And then we've got a final stage for futures trading specifically that basically offsets or ADLs accounts that are effectively bankrupt, and removes that risk. So that's mechanically how our leverage trading engine works, and helps to protect users. Second to that, we've got a dedicated security team within Valor that's focused 24/7 on ensuring that our platform is secure. And all of the the usual security processes that you would expect of a large exchange are available on Valor. It's really important to set up second factor authentication on an exchange account. You can actually handle sharing access on Valor with other users if you need to. Like, for example, if you need to do your taxes or whatever the case is, you need to give access to your accountant. You can share read-only access to another user on Valor, without having to give away your email and password to anybody. And I think these are the most important things that are top of mind for me, right? Is making sure that our leverage engine is working really smoothly and performant, and that our security is top notch. So we do a lot of work to make sure that our platform is secure.
Great. It's great to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing those insights about margin trading. And I think this is like a really great opportunity for users to leverage opportunities. But at the same time, it also brings about some important security concerns. As you mentioned, you guys are doing your best to improve that. And speaking of security, I'm sure many of you in the audience have heard about the recent $1.5 billion hack of Bybit. And I guess it was like a wake-up call for the entire crypto industry. So yeah, the question is, naturally, this caused exchanges worldwide to take a hard look at the security measure. I want to know, like, what's your opinion on that, and like if at Valor you guys made any changes, and how do you stay ahead of those increasingly sophisticated attacks?
Yeah, I don't think you can ever presume that you're secure and that you have no risks that you're facing. Like it's clear when a large and reputable exchange has a problem like this, that everyone needs to be really careful and cognizant of the security risks all of the time, right? These things keep developing. Like, there's new attack vectors that either open up or that attackers discover, that need to be evaluated and managed, and you've got to stay on top of it. That's why we have our own dedicated security team of experts in the security field, right, that specifically focus on this. They did a full analysis and research report on what happened with the Bybit hack, as an example. And we actually learned from that a lot of our processes are really top notch, right? They're where they need to be. Had we had the same attack on our platform, we would not have lost the same quantum of funds. And so that gave us some confidence, but reminded us that we always need to be really secure, right? Like, we've got a lot of processes in place, even within our team, that ensures that there's no person that has enough access that they'd be able to be compromised and funds would be stolen from our platform. So yeah, it's something that we constantly are paranoid about and have a lot of focus on, and something we never stop thinking about, trying to make sure that we are as secure as possible. It's interesting, like most of the industry uses Gnosis Safe. I don't know if everyone actually knows that well, but like it is the service for cold storage of ERC20 and Ethereum based assets. And so most of the industry, I think, looked at that and heard initially what Ben was saying on his AMA that he had like within an hour of the hack, and we're immediately like, holy crap, we need to go and make sure that we're secure and careful with this.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
definitely.
that was a different.
Yeah.
That was a different Ben, by the way. But I think what I would add to that is that we get a lot of questions now actually about our security architecture, and actually it's not wise at all to share too much about it, right? Because that's basically not just telling the general public; it's telling potential attackers as well. But I think overall, I think we followed it very closely. I think all of us at Valor were quite impressed with Bybit's response and the whole kind of PR exercise around it. But PR is only so much. In the end, it's also about a very basic fact, which is that there was a wallet that had 1.5 million of assets in it. Sorry, 1.5 billion of assets in it. And I think that's actually not a good practice. And so that is something that everybody should reflect on. But for us, definitely, we feel we're in a good place. It's not good to have a one wallet that holds so much of your assets.
Yeah,
no PR can spin that basically.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's definitely a lesson that we're all trying to learn from and trying to see how we can do better. I want to know, like, what's coming up for ValR that our audience should be excited about? Do you guys have any events, campaigns, or announcement in the coming months?
Yeah, maybe I can comment. So actually, Valor, we really run a lot of activities each month, every week, on a daily basis. So sometimes these are referral campaigns. So, if you're into Solana, I think this coming weekend is Solana's birthday. We'll be running a Solana birthday referral campaign. Basically, you refer your friends and you earn Solana for each successful referral that you make to Valor, which is really wonderful. Also, currently, we're running a very unique competition, which is Bitcoin versus gold. And that's not really about price. It's not even about volume. It's actually about trade frequency. So it's kind of a battle between the Bitcoin and XAUT markets. XAUT being Tether Gold, tokenized gold, and really it's kind of an experiment. It's a trade frequency competition, and our community is very engaged, and it's very rewarding. And lastly, today actually we're starting a spot margin trading competition. So as G was already explaining, our margin markets, I would say, are very tied to our lending product, and the more demand we see on the margin side, the higher the rates go on the lending side. And so today, until the end of the month, we're actually running a spot margin trading competition. So there are 43 eligible pairs where people can trade. And at the end of the month, we'll reward the top 20 traders by volume. They'll share $10,000 USDT actually. And for each pair, so for each of the 43 pairs, the top trader per pair also kind of shares in a pool of $5,000. And that might seem very impossible to win. But actually, some of these pairs are not very heavily traded. So users can have a look tomorrow on the leaderboard and see like, wow, that's maybe not so difficult to beat. So people can pick their pairs of choice. And I think what's really important to mention is that on the majority of exchanges out there, if you participate in a competition, you have to sign up, you have to opt in, you have to register. But actually at Valor, you're participating by default. So if you're a user on Valor and you're trading a certain asset, and maybe you're just trading a lot, and you don't know about a competition, you might still get the rewards. So basically everybody on our platform participates, and that's very attractive. And I think our community is very engaged. And so I would not take the approach which is, oh wow, they have rewards, I'll never win. I'll never win those. Actually, participation is quite rewarding on Valor.
That sounds very exciting. I want to be part of this Bitcoin gold competition as well. Sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Um, yeah. Looking ahead, what can we expect from VALR this year? Are there like any game-changing features, developments, partnerships that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah. On the partnership side, I mentioned already that we're going to be working with many of the major banks on the African continent. So expect some news coming from them. Second to that, I think we're going to, as Ben's alluded to, be running lots of competitions this year to get further engagement with new and existing users on our exchange. On a product level, expect much more work being done to build out our exchange further. We want to offer more trading tools, more order types, more markets on Valor for our users. And we're also actually intending to expand into traditional products as well, for a wider customer base. So firstly, expect things like indices on Valor being available this year, like a top 10 index and the like, is something that we're actively working on, and probably traditional assets as well, things like equities and bonds are high up on our radar for new markets to allow our customers access to. So lots to build this year, and we're excited to have people come and try it out. Right? I think like Valor, I think absolutely, and of course I would say this, but truthfully, I think is an exchange that you should at least have in your portfolio, right? As a venue that you can come and take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves, and hopefully that develops into people enjoying our product and wanting to use it more. That's what we believe is going to happen over the next few months and years.
Great, so many exciting things going on. And let's end this on a bold question. If you could make one big prediction about the future of crypto lending, where do you see it in the next 5 years?
Crypto lending in general, I think, is going to become an even more important product for crypto natives. I think as the market matures and like the massive price swings we see start to decrease a little bit, I think the focus will not be so much on actively trading, but more so like, is there a better opportunity in the crypto space to earn a good yield relative to alternatives? And I think crypto is the best place for that, right? And I think that's still going to be the case in 5 years. It's the easiest to access, and I think it's a game changer for most people, right? Especially in the markets that we operate in, for people to have access to dollar based assets that can earn north of 5, 6, 7% per year. That's something that just is not available otherwise to people in Africa. And so we're really excited to see that adoption increase, and I think it'll happen globally.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think we went through at least all the questions I wanted to ask you and know about. So we are getting close to wrapping up our live session now. But before we finish, I'm just going to check with my team if we have any last question from the audience. Let me check quickly. There's maybe like one question. Someone is asking, is there like a minimum amount required to start lending?
Yeah, there is a minimum amount that's required per currency. It's small, so roughly $10, I'd say, in something like Bitcoin, that you need to put in to the lending book to start earning an interest rate.
Okay. And someone else is asking, can I withdraw my funds anytime, or are they locked in for a period?
Yeah, so the way our lending system works is that what we're doing, we're paying interest hourly through basically locking what is required to satiate the amount of borrowing that's happening on our platform. every hour, right? So what that means is that if your funds are locked on Valor in lending, for example, and you wish to withdraw them, you request to unlock your funds, and that will happen at the top of the next hour. And so when the next hour comes along, your funds will be unlocked and you can withdraw them then. That is true of lending on Valor. It's also true of staking. We offer liquid staking on our platform for Solana, Avalanche, Tron, where you can lock up, earn every hour staking yield, and then if you want to withdraw, you can unlock almost immediately and withdraw your funds.
Okay,
And maybe it's good to highlight the staking product, which is, if you stake Solana, I think there's a lockup period of 2 weeks, and if you stake Solana on Valor, basically we stake for you, and we also carry the risk. So if you want to unstake after a minute or after 20 seconds or 5 minutes, you can unstake, and we'll keep our Solana on chain, basically staking away. So I think it's good to know that. I think we have one of the most attractive staking products. For Solana stakers, they better stake Solana on Valor than they would on the actual Solana protocol.
Yeah, note that. I hope our audience is taking that in notes. All right, that was the last question. Could you please also tell us how our audience can keep up with Valor updates? And if they're very interested to join Valor, or how can they contact your team? Do you have an email address, social media? Where can they find you?
I mean, it's the basic answer. So of course we're on Twitter. I think in your tweet we're tagged. So follow at valor.com. That's Valor, DOTCOM, valor.com. We of course have a global Telegram channel where users can come. We're very welcoming, very engaging. If you need support, I think you can email help@valor.com. Again, our support team is very active and very engaged with whoever needs support. And just in case people are interested, I think Valor as an African-born company is very rare in that we also have a Chinese brand. So Valor is also known as Wei Le, which means powerful and happy. And so that means we offer a Chinese app as well. And we offer a Chinese Telegram group. And there's a growing community there as well as an alternative to everything else that we see in the market.
That is very, very interesting. Guys, thank you so much for being here with us today and for sharing all your valuable insights. It's been a real pleasure, and I'm genuinely happy to see that you guys are working on many things, that the company is growing, so many exciting things going on. So thank you again for joining the live today. We would love to have you back on the show soon. And of course, a huge thanks to everyone watching and joining us live. We truly appreciate your time and your questions. Don't forget, you can always stay connected with us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Telegram, and all on other platforms. Just search for Cointelegraph to keep with all the latest. See you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Aline.
Thank you.